these giant corporations, they are sustainable and they make money for a reason, and it's because of those foundational processes that they have. So taking those foundational processes and utilizing them in like your smaller law firm, that's how I think you can grow.
Before I started, I wanted to give a little context. So I am the founder of Markets Movers. Markets Movers is a company that helps companies, especially law firms now, to increase revenue. Like we have proven strategies that not just like bring you new clients, but also save you time and stress. I created Markets Movers after I finished law school. So I went to
Okay.
school. Yeah, and so many things happened in the past few years, like COVID. I moved back to the United States. I finished my school in Brazil. And then I had two kids back to back. I have almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So, but after finishing law school, I've noticed that a lot of my friends were struggling to get clients because you go to law school, you learn, they teach you a little bit legal. You don't necessarily learn everything, but they don't teach you business. They
Yeah.
don't teach you how to create a business, how to get clients, and how to market yourself. So I had that experience, like those skills, because I had my own businesses in Brazil, some friends out, and then referrals, and then now we are a legit company for over a year, and we have a whole team of social media, ads manager, and you name it. So it's been very fun. And instead of like being an attorney, hands-on attorney, I help with the back end, which is something that I love the most. But I decided to create this white paper is because I wanted to get better insights into the legal industry, right? But then I thought it was going to be very, selfish to me to just keep all this great information to myself. So I'm like, I'm going to create a white paper. I'm going to share with everybody all these insights, because so far we spoke to almost 40 leaders, like attorneys, and not just that, but like marketing directors and people from finance. So we're getting so many great insights from the legal industry right now that after I finish the white paper, I'll be happy to share with you too if you want to take a
I
look
would
at it.
love that. Yes. No, that's so exciting. I love.
But yeah, tell me about yourself. What do you guys do,
Okay.
and for how long have you been doing it?
Yes. So I actually, I had studied for my Pennsylvania bar during COVID in 2020,
Mhm.
and I had like tried a bunch of different jobs, and I didn't know what legal section I wanted to be a part of. And honestly, I was like kind of contemplating, like I had tried like 7 different jobs and hated every single legal industry that I tried. And I was like, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer anymore, but I'm still going to sit for my Pennsylvania bar because I know I want to move back to Pennsylvania. And after I took my bar in October, I started applying for jobs, and nobody wants to hire somebody like in between the bar or whatever. So I found a temporary job at Babin Law working on the Boy Scouts of America case in October. And it was like a 6-week position. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. Like, this is exactly what I want to do or whatever for a little bit. And once the Boy Scouts project ended at the end of November, he was like, do you want to just stay with me and my firm? I think you would be a perfect fit for the human trafficking department at our firm. And I was like, sure. Took my Ohio bar, and then I started managing the human trafficking team in about July. Like I did the whole process. So we do human trafficking cases against the hospitality industry under a civil remedy, which is the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act. So our law firm filed the first case in the country, and we have the largest docket in the country. So we have like over 2,000 cases, and I only had a team at the time of 2. So something that we had to like really, really focus in on was like technology, policies and procedures, like really writing good standard operating procedures to make sure that everybody was following through with everything and we could like increase efficiency. And because it's a new case and there's no law on the case, it required a lot of changes, a lot of system changes. As the law continuously developed, we had to go back into our system and refine our questions, refine our docket, and be like, okay, this client no longer qualifies. Like these are like making sure that we're complying with statutes. And like, even as the law progresses, we just had to continuously go back and do that. So the team grew exponentially the more cases that we got. Like we ended up having like 3 paralegals, 4 paralegals, 5 paralegals, whatever it may be, and a bigger staff and adding more lawyers. But as we got more cases, but the whole firm in and of itself, something that we liked, that Steven liked, my boss and partner, was like, we need to develop the firm board. Is like, okay, let's make sure that we develop good SOPs and standardized processes that everybody's complying with, so that way it's easier to monitor for somebody. So in 2022, I became the firm's COO, and I was kind of pulled off legal for a bit, so that way I could help build out the system and develop a good foundational basis of, client intake processes, case management processes, communications, finances and things like that, to just have that good foundational basis. And then, so I did that for quite some time in 2022. And I missed lawyering more than ever, because I was like, okay, I want to actually get back to being a lawyer. So we brought in more so just more, we started our call center up. And so we kind of brought in people to help with a lot of these things. So I could migrate back into being a lawyer. But something we had recognized and noticed is that we grew too quickly, in the sense of we dumped way too many cases into the firm, that we didn't have the so 2022, starting out building out the firm's foundations, was too late, because we already had 4,000 cases in our system. So a lot of the work that we had to do in 2023 was a lot of cleanup, and we're still cleaning up a lot of things today. And it almost sometimes, I swear, I'll look at my system and I'm like, I just want to delete everything and start fresh. I just want to clean up the whole system and start anew, because I wish that we would have had the development of that. And I think something I've learned in the 4 years that I've been at this, you really don't launch something before you have everything in place, everybody trained. Just, obviously it's money that you're losing the longer that you wait. But I think companies need to recognize, especially mass tort firms, because your money is hedge fund money. It's all borrowed money, because in mass torts, you don't get paid for 18 months, 20 months, whatever it is. So I think that's probably the hardest part for a lot of mass tort firms, is taking a step back, pausing. And you see a lot of CEOs, even my CEO, sometimes it jumps the gun, right? It's no, we really have to develop things out first before we go ahead and just jump the gun, because now it's more work, more money, and more time to fix all of these problems. And you're always going to have problems. So I do think something we've learned is a project manager needs to be on every single case, for sure.
You do have that now, a project manager that is on every single case?
We're looking for more project managers now. We have one that we just hired, and she's great. She's doing that for call center, for our intake and onboarding, our investigations demand department, that pre-lit side, and then your litigation department.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask, so you do have some different departments, but it's all mostly human traffic, or that's all you do?
So no, so we do, there's 3 case groups that we have. We have mass tort cases, which is our product liability cases. So we do CPAP, hernia mesh, 3M, infant formula, pneuma, and hair relaxer. Those are the 6 mass tort cases that we have. And within all of that, I would say we've got about a total of cases, 4,000 cases there. And then we have our personal injury docket, which is just a small docket. It's 30 car wreck cases. That just keeps the lights on, just keeps it moving through for the firm, since we don't get paid off of the mass tort cases for quite some time. And then we have our single event cases of our sex abuse cases. So in sex abuse, that's where human trafficking comes in. And we've got a docket of 2,500 cases.
How do you get all these clients? Is all word by mouth, or?
So it started off, what we did is we partnered with a lot of nonprofit organizations, and we wanted to, so we got a couple of clients. So Steven, actually, his first client was somebody that he met at a recovery group. And she had discussed, I was trafficked, and Steve was like, there's got to be something that we could do. And that's how he filed the first case in the country, here in Columbus, Ohio, in the Southern District. He was like, I feel like there has to be some type of remedy where we can hold corporations accountable, because 87% of human trafficking occurs in the hospitality industry. And so that was one thing that we knew, like we were like, okay, well, there's got to be something that we can do from that perspective then. So that's what he did. He filed that first case. And from there, though, we got like more clients from word of mouth. But what ended up happening is that when you have trafficking survivors, obviously there's like 3 stages in which you can get a survivor in what mental capacity that they're at. It could be emergent, where they're currently still being trafficked and they're calling you and they're like, please help me. It could be transitional, where it's like they just got out of the trafficking and they're still not mentally like processing, like, they've been beat down, beat down, beat down, that they think they're a prostitute, that they think that they are worthless, that they have no remedy because they're at fault in this position, that they could have left or whatever, but they were scared by their pimp. And then you have your sustainable clients, where it's like they've been out of it for like 8 years, but then you run up against the statute issue, but they're the most stable, where they're like, yeah, I'm ready to talk about my trauma. I think I can like go ahead and file a lawsuit for this. So it required, at that point in time, we were like, we have to work with a lot of nonprofits to kind of get trauma informed training, because when we got our first client calling in saying, I'm being trafficked, we didn't know what to do. We were like, oh my gosh, so we instantly reached out to a lot of nonprofits. And so that kind of sparked like more so like advertisement. We use other vendors to advertise for us, but like we will create the advertisements ourselves and we'll utilize their Facebook platform, because like I'm sure like we're trying to build up our current Facebook right now for ads, and it's like the spend that we're allowed right now is like $5, because like you have to build your reputation on it for Facebook to even allow for you to have a bigger budget spend. So we're very careful. We learned from all of these nonprofits and like through trauma informed training, like if you're going to post an advertisement for these types of cases, you really have to be mindful as to how that advertisement looks, right? Like you don't want to do anything that's going to cause more trauma for the client. You want it to be inviting. Yes, you want it to be inviting and welcoming, where it's like, this is for you. It is not something where obviously we hope and pray that we can get you money, but like there's no guarantee. There's no jury trial that's finished and said like, this is how much money you're going to get. This is just something where it's like, we want to effectively make a change and at least reduce that number of 87% to be significantly lower.
Right. Wow. So this is the first law firm I talked to that it deals with such like big cases like this. This is very personal. I'm sure that there's very sensitive. I cannot even imagine.
Yes, and like the amount of like too, like we really, really do try, because it's very high stress. It's very, especially on legal, and then also too for our call center, the when they get trained on like mass torts, it's not as vigorous of training. Our human trafficking training is a 2-week process, because you're learning about, here's all of our resources. Like if a client needs resources, here's how you can find them. So mental health resources, this is how you find them. Like housing resources, that's always a big one. So like we train a lot of them in that manner. And so like a lot of the processes that needed to be built out, because we went from a company of 3 to 40 in a matter of like a year and a half. And because we grew that fast, nothing was really documented, because it was all, what is it? Someone had told me the way that we did it was like caveman style, basically, where it's like you talk it and they learn it, right? Like you're just teaching it, but nobody wrote anything down.
Yeah.
And so now when we grew that fast and you had that many people and you have turnover, it's like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 6 months training this person, when it would have been so much easier to just give them a document.
Yes.
And like quickly train like a class.
Yes.
Yeah. So we definitely learned in that respect of like, write everything down, build the foundational processes, and like do like when we hire people, don't hire just like one person sporadically at a time, hiring classes, because that way you can just train them all at once and then they're part of a class or whatever.
I love that. And that's like a big good mindset too, because I worked for big corporations like PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? PwC.
Oh, okay.
And that's exactly how they do it, right? Like they're so large that they hire, for example, I was hired for the team in Brazil, but they hire once a year. It's once a year. They open they hire, and then they hire, you know, like 100 people at once. We all do the training together for like the entire country. I'm talking about entire country. And then we usually go to like São Paulo, like the big city, and then they send you to your town, and they're good to go for another year.
Which is, I think also too, that was something that our firm had to like learn is like, look, these like, do we want to be a 1,000-person firm?
Yeah,
No.
right.
But these giant corporations, they are sustainable and they make money for a reason. And it's because of those foundational processes that they have. So taking those foundational processes that they have and utilizing them in like your smaller law firm, that's how I think you can grow. At least like, again, like we just want like 50 people. That's all that we don't want too many people because we like the family aspect of our firm. But what we don't want is to just like be in the caveman style of just not having anything written down. Like we do want to make sure that we have those policies and we're holding people accountable to those policies, right? Because we don't want, like, this is obviously highly sensitive information. If something's not in our system and you fail to put it into our system, and I'm going to have call that client back and re-ask them about the most traumatic experience of their life, someone's getting fired. Like, I am not doing that to a client. I would rather like tell the client I will not pursue your case than reopen a can of worms for them.
Right. Okay. Now I was gonna ask you about the trends in the market, but like I feel like this is such a specific niche. I don't even know. Are there a lot of competitors? Like, what are the trends that you see in this market?
So honestly, it's very interesting, like as specifically with competitors that we have, specifically because it's a very high risk case. It's very expensive. Not a lot of people are willing to take this kind of risk. So it's very niche. Not many people are doing it. I think I would say we probably have about 7 other law firms across the country that are doing what we do, but they don't have as many cases that they have filed. I think that's like where our strength lies in our technology is that we have like developed technology to be able to help us with monitoring and tracking everything because it is really difficult. I think you get like in today's society, you got a lot of these bigger law firms and law firms across the country that are very stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
They do not want to, like, they still have their paper files. They're still tracking something in a spreadsheet. They're still using like Google Calendar and everything, or like an actual planner. And it's like that, you'll never be able to grow your docket if you are stuck that way. So there's not that many firms that have the docket that we do. We have the most cases filed in the country. And I really do believe it's because we're able to monitor everything and track everything. Our policy is if you didn't put it in the system, it never happened, it never existed.
Wow.
So there's
I
really not that many with sex abuse, but with mass torts, oh, there's hundreds of mass tort firms in the country that file.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, who do you like? Do you sue the companies?
Yes, so specifically with human trafficking, so Steven has always believed that it's the corporate brand's responsibility, not the franchisees. So your Wyndham that owns like these Days Inn franchisees, Steven has always said, I'm not suing Days Inn. I'm suing Wyndham because they are the ones that make the policies and procedures. It's the same thing. Like if our firm made a policy and then we opened up a branch chain or something like that, HQ is responsible. Like, I mean, that's just how it works. They want to say, like, oh, you break the whole franchise model if there was liability on us. So it's harder. And most people actually sue the franchisees because they're like, I think we're the only firm, actually. We are the only firm that refused to sue the franchisees. We will only sue the corporate brand company because in Steven's mind, he said, I could lose every case and it's a win for these women because at the end of the day you're getting it's PR, right? You're getting the name out there that Wyndham is the problem, like Choice is the problem, Red Roof is the problem, and it's a PR nightmare for them. So he's like, even if I lose these cases, it's still a win for these clients because a lot of these clients too say they're like, no amount of money is going to change anything that happened to me. I was raped over 100,000 times. It's not going to change anything. But what can change is my story. So even if the client loses too, it's a win because that client can now go and tell her story on every media outlet that she possibly wants to, because she's not bound by any type of settlement agreement or confidentiality order anymore. So it's like a win. It's a win-win for the clients. And I'm not saying we lose. We've definitely progressed and have made significant case law, which is amazing, but we have lost. We lost in different districts because, you know, the judge, it is, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but like, it does depend on the judge and the knowledge that you have on sex trafficking. You know, in the Northern District of Ohio, the judge said, I don't think the brands are responsible. I think the franchisees are responsible. So did we lose to the brands in that court? Yes. She still has a franchisee claim. That's fine. But obviously, you know, the client was more sad that she was like, I mean, you could bring it against the franchisees if you want, but that's not going to make anything better for me. Like, she wanted to sue the brands too. That's what she wanted, because that's like what we preach to these clients, is like, we want change. That's what we want.
Oh my gosh, this is so nice. This is so nice. I have so many questions. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Oh, you're fine. I could talk about this all day.
Fun. And you're so young. And, you know,
Yes, I know.
Yeah. How old are you? Like, for real?
I just turned 30 in July.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 32. I just turned 30 in March. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
That's awesome. It seems like the company has this very good, like, young vibe and culture.
Yes. No, we definitely, I mean, Steven, my boss and my partner, he is he just turned 37 on Sunday. So he is so young. He's only been, I mean, like, this, I always say though, I'm like, if anybody ever asks me if I talk good about Steven, I will deny it till the day I die, because I don't want his ego to get bigger. So, because I'm like, no, I don't want my partner's ego to get any bigger than it is. Yeah. But like, I mean, I am very lucky that the company did start off small, because like, I was his first associate. And he trained me significantly. Like, the amount of time he invested in me when he was 34 and I was 26. I mean, like, it was just perfect, because like, I worked so well with him on these cases is because he grew me and helped train me. And he is just one of the most brilliant lawyers in the country. Like, I mean, he has the amount of work that he has put into developing not only a firm, but also like these cases in and of itself. I mean, he's just strategically, the way that he thinks and the way he argues and articulates things in like depositions. Like, we were just supposed to have a deposition on Tuesday. The defendants were able to get out of it because they were so terrified of having a deposition with Steven deposing their corporate representative for Best Western. They were terrified because they had heard horror stories of how he can like really just destroy these corporations in their depositions. I mean, like, he literally got the corporate representative of Red Roof Inn to say that he believes that there are more prostitutes than there are victims of human trafficking. So if your corporate representative believes that, and Steve was like, okay, but here's my thing. And this is such a great argument. He's like, I mean, like, how are you supposed to, so the defendants always say, how are you supposed to recognize the difference between prostitution and human trafficking? They are very similar. Yeah, you're right. They are similar, but there are signs to show that there's more human trafficking. But the logic here doesn't make sense, where it's like, if you do recognize prostitution is illegal, human trafficking is illegal. If they are the same and you recognize that, oh, okay, it's easier to spot a prostitute than it is a victim of human trafficking, and you stop that prostitution, that illegal activity happening on your property, isn't it a win-win for you then? Like, you're not benefiting from any illegal activity happening on your property if it just so happens to be human trafficking. So the logic didn't make sense. So like, he went in on that like phrase of like, even if you did believe that, you would still be preventing illegal activity from happening on your property. So the fact that these companies didn't even care to train their staff on how to recognize the signs of human trafficking is just, it's a bullshit answer of just, that's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of the franchisee. And it's like, okay, well, why do you buy a franchisee? Because there's already policies and procedures. I don't have to start from the ground up. I'm buying into the system. Give me the trainings. I don't want to.
Oh my gosh, this is so nice and interesting. What are the goals for the firm, for the next 6 months, 12 months?
So we actually follow EOS, which is, so we follow Traction, the entrepreneurial operating system. And actually, Michael Morris, he has a book called Fireproof and courses on Fireproof, and that it's specific to law firms. The firm follows Fireproof as well. So right now, one of the main rocks that we have, like one of the foundational rocks, is finalizing and developing out our 7 stages at the firm, which is intake, onboarding, investigations, demand, litigation, settlement, and closure. So like we want to make sure that we have core foundational processes that are fully developed. This is how we do these things at the firm. This is how we litigate. This is how we file certain things. Like we really are trying, this is how you input everything into the system. And this is how you're trained on being able to be empathetic to clients and what our core values are. So that's our first rock for the end of the year. The second is to develop more technology that will utilize, like be able to build out our personal injury practice. So right now we're really trying to focus on like having some types of automations where it's like they can pull, like robots can like pull crash reports and things of that nature to be able to just like analyze the document itself and say, yeah, this could be a viable case. You should reach out to this person, you know, send them a mail or send them a flyer, because sometimes like when you go on, like, so all the crash reports are free. And you see a lot of people, what they do is these PI law firms, they're mailing things out by hand. But yes, we're working on automations. We want more automations at the firm, especially in general, like something that when you have a large docket of like, I think our firm total has around 9,000 cases at the firm. So one of the main things that you want to always make sure is that like how do you keep contact with all of those clients if you only have, you know, we have a small firm. And the reason why we want a small firm is because we want everybody to feel like personalized, like that they are able, like we don't want them to be talking to it each time, but the question always becomes like, how do you keep constant communication with those clients and make sure that, because something that's very common is, especially with survivors of human trafficking, they change their phone numbers so many times, they move locations so many times because they're always terrified, what if my pimp finds me? It's one of their biggest fears. So ensuring that you can always get a hold of your client is important, and the way that you do that is building constant communication. So if we can send automations constantly, like our system will do that for us, of just like, hey, checking in, make sure you're okay. Do you need anything from us? Like everything is the same with your case. If we need something though, like please make sure you always save our number. Developing client portals for them to always be like, even if they lost our number, they can always go on the Babin Law app and like be like, okay, where's my case? Oh, here's my attorney's phone number, whatever it may be. So like we're trying to get about like 80% of our clients migrated into the client portal by the end of the year. So that way, like they always have a way to contact us. And then the third rock is we just want to get some more personal injury cases and some more hair relaxer cases, do like a last minute push before the deadline. So we have like a marketing goal of trying to get like co-counsel deals. Like we don't want to always spend our own marketing dollars. Typically, like about 70% of our cases are referred to us. So a lot of these other law firms will market, and they're not litigators, they're more like pre-lit lawyers, but our firm, we want to be known as like the litigating law firm. Steve always says, he's like, I want our mission statement to be that we instill fear in the hearts of the defendants or whatever. And I was like, I'm sure that, I mean, you definitely scare the shit out of them. Maybe yes. Not, but I'm like, I'm just this 5'1" little blonde that just can manipulate them or something. I don't know, like good cop, bad cop. But having other people refer us cases, and then we work those cases for them, and we just give them a referral fee, which I think is also really, really good for startup law firms. That's how Steven started. You obviously don't have money when you first start. Yeah. So, but he's a litigator. That's what he did. He was like, if you refer me a case, I will give you a fee split, you know? So that was a good way for him to always get cases, was you spend marketing dollars on this. Another thing that he did was like, okay, he couldn't afford staff. So he said, hey, this co-counsel, can you please staff my cases? And I will give you a percentage of every single case that we settle if they worked on that case, you know? So he really utilized other law firms to be able to help fund him while he started. And I think that's something that not a lot of people do. They just instantly go to banks and they're like, let me take a loan out in 20 million, $30 million. And that's why you're seeing a lot of companies, especially law firms like mass tort firms, go bankrupt right now because they took out hundreds of millions of dollars of loans. And the interest rates on those is 16, 17, 18%. I mean, they're accruing. Some of these firms I heard were accruing like $100,000 a month in interest. And it's just, yeah, it's just terrifying. So it's things like that where it's like, he was very, very knowledgeable when he started his firm. He was like, I would rather give somebody a 10% interest in something than me have to pay $50,000, $60,000 for a paralegal. Like he really, really like utilized other firms. And I think that's something that, a lot more law firms should do instead of just running to a hedge fund company and just being like, can I borrow 20 million, $30 million? Because that money too, you would think 20 to $30 million is a lot of money for a law firm. In the grand scheme of things, if you're a litigating law firm like we are, our experts are a retainer is $5,000 for these experts. And you need a minimum 3 or 4 experts. You need a damages, liability, psychologist, expert. There's numerous different experts that you need, and every hour is $600, $700. So, I mean, these attorneys' fees or these case expenses rack up, and obviously we're paying that, and if we lose that money. So 20 million and $30 million goes really, really quick when you're in the mass tort space. Filing fees, like just pro hoc vices, anything is expensive. So he also utilized other law firms to say, if I take this case to trial, you'll pay 50% of my expenses to be able to do it. Anything over 5,000 will get approval from you guys. Like he really, really tried to make it where it was like if he could, and he did a couple PI cases. He was like, let me just get enough to fund, to pay my associate and my paralegal. And like he didn't pay himself. He was like, I just need enough to settle these cases to just get enough operating. We shared an office space with another law firm like for about a year, and then we grew and grew and grew. So I think that was really, really, really beneficial when you're starting up a law firm.
That's awesome. What about now? Like, how does he get this law firms to refer him? Like, does he have like a good, like, he goes to events and networking, and that's how he usually does? Yeah.
Yes. So typically what we do is we go to conferences. And anytime Steven sends me or the other partners, Sarita, to a conference, we have a goal. Like because conferences are expensive also. Like, unfortunately, this industry is just expensive as it is. Like, just to go to a conference, you're paying about $5,000, $6,000 for your hotel, your travel, the conference itself is like $1,500. There's a lot of expenses that go into it. And so when we go, we sit down and we strategize and we say, what kinds of cases do we want people to refer to us, right? Like, because a lot of people don't also realize that when you have a docket as large as everybody else does in mass torts, your docket is power, right? So like if you have your docket is power and your data is power. So, my clients have taken Tylenol, they have taken Zantac. They live in Illinois where they could have an infant formula case. They're African American, so they utilized hair relaxer. I can send out mass communications to those clients and say, hey, our firm is taking hair relaxer cases. You might have a potential case. That's free. That's a free case for me, right? Because it's already my docket. Ensuring, even if it's somebody you can't take their case, ensuring you put that person in your system, it's not solicitation. They reached out to you. You can now have the ability to contact them. Same thing with these other law firms. We always tell them, send out a mass communication. Here's the criteria. See if they meet that criteria. And if they do, refer us the case. We'll give you 20%. And we'll work the case. We'll file it for you, whatever it may be. So we usually sit down and we strategize what cases can we handle, right? So we have 900 hair relaxer cases. And Sarita said, I could handle another 500 guys. So Steven and I sat down and we said, all right, here's some law firms that we know are in the industry that are going to be at this conference. Let's plan to meet with them, set up some meetings, and talk to them about why it's in their best interest to go ahead and either spend marketing money on this case, because what's their ROI going to be on the case? When are they going to get paid? How long is it going to take for them? Like, will they get more money than spending the marketing dollars now or whatever? So we normally like prepare for them some like types of reporting as to why it's in their best interest.
Yeah.
And then two, we'll like decide from there, okay, if it's not hair relaxer, he's like, Jenny, do you want more cases? And normally I'm like, I can wait. I'm like, 2,500 is enough for me right now, Steven. Thank you so much. I appreciate the offer, but I'm good.
That's so nice. Okay, so oh my God, I have so many ideas that I would love to share with you, because this is exactly what I do. Like we mostly help companies, B2B companies, right? Like for example, law firms that deal with other law firms, because
Yes.
it's easy to target those companies than like individuals itself. Because you're right, if you're gonna target individuals, then you gotta do ads, you gotta do all that. So my bread and butter is cold outreach, is email, right? So it's the same way that I got you in this interview, in this conversation. So, and it's all about building a foundation. It's all about building like relationships.
Connection. Yep.
Right. So I will love to talk to you more about this. Like I already have so many ideas in my mind that I think
I love it
for you, because for example, like instead of doing it, like going to conferences in person, spending all that $5,000 and hotel, it's pretty much the same but online. But I have a way to find these people to talk to you on the phone, on like on a Zoom meeting. And it's not salesy at all. It's all about, the same thing. Like we can even create a white paper for a specific topic in this year, and then like say, hey, we'll send emails to like 6,000 law firms in the United States. Hey, if you're a law firm that is facing X, Y, and Z cases, blah, 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 we're interviewing some leaders in this industry to create a white paper, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to come to an interview with me?
Yes.
Same type of deal. So they come to an interview, you talk to them, that you create this relationship. You're not trying to sell anything, right? But then, of course, if you see that there is a fit where they're facing some challenge, it's the same.
Yes.
I would love to explain to you more how it works. Do you mind coming in another call with me next week? I just don't want to take too much.
No, not at all. No, I would love that. I love talking to you.
Yes, I know, right? Me too. We have so much in common. I'll send you a Zoom invite to the same. And then, I would love to talk to you again. And if you want, I don't know, like, if anybody else would like to be on this call, if you think that is able for them to learn all this too, then it will be awesome. But just so you have an idea, I am going to ask more questions into your business, just so you can prepare like, goals, like where are you at right now? Where do you want to get? Ticket size and all that, so I can like put together a plan that will help you cross the bridge, like reach those goals.
I love that. I love that.
Perfect. All right. So thank you